Hey, it's Darnell with D-Grill. Got myself a huge 14-pound brisket here from the good folks at Costco. Well, it's almost 15 pounds. It's like 14.74 pounds. USDA Prime. And I had an interesting time getting this brisket because when I went to Costco to pick up a brisket, all they had were flats. And so I had to ask the butcher if they had any full-size briskets in the back. And I guess somewhere in a cooling unit he found a box full of big USDA Prime briskets, and I said I'll take one. So we've got our brisket, thank God, and we're going to go ahead and get it up out of the cryo bag. Alright, so here's our big beast of meat, this brisket. Basically I'm going to do a simple brisket here. I'm going to trim this up. I'm not going to use any injection or anything. I'm just going to cover it with some of this Grill Mates Montreal steak seasoning after I get it trimmed up, and that's going to be it. And then I'm going to put it in the fridge for the night. This is the night before, so basically I'm just going to, as far as trimming is, I'm going to trim pretty much almost as much excess fat as possible from all sides of it. I'm going to trim it down real good, so let's start trimming it. Alright, so I basically cut the fat cap down to basically bare bones. I didn't want to cut any further to cut into any more meat than I already hit cutting into the fat cap. But I wanted to trim the fat cap down pretty much as possible. Over on the other side, I trimmed away some excess fat here and there. I left this here because I'm not going to separate the flat and the point. I'm going to leave those together. But basically what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get this covered with that Montreal steak seasoning. Alright, got it all seasoned up. Basically going to put it in the fridge just like this overnight, let it take a nice nap and wake it up in the morning. Alright, so it's early morning, crack of dawn, you hear the birds going at it, and so basically going to get the Green Mountain Grills Daniel Boone pellet smoker started up. So I've got my app connected, going to turn it on and confirm, and now I'm going to set the initial temperature to 180 degrees for this cook, and I'll talk to you about some of the details of what I'm doing here. But basically going to get it started with that. Once it reaches 180, I'll put the brisket on. Let me give you the weather report here. The current temperature is partly cloudy, 68 degrees, real feel is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity is 94%, and the wind speed's just 2 miles an hour. And we're coming to you from Chattanooga, Tennessee, for you who never knew where I was. Basically, we're going to, for this brisket, we're going to smoke it using some Green Mountain Grill Texas Premium blend pellets to start, but I'm basically near the end of those. So after those are depleted, we're going to get into some Traeger hickory. So I'll be using some of the Green Mountain, some of the Traeger hickory. Kind of prefer the Traeger hickory myself, but that's my preference. Basically you're going to start smoking this at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It's already inside getting warmed up, so I've had it out for a while warming up. We're going to smoke it at 180 to start for just 2 hours. That's just going to get some smoke infusion started in it. Then I'm going to up the temperature to 250 degrees Fahrenheit cooking temp. That's a little above the 225 traditional temp to smoke at. But basically this one I want to run it a little faster, not hot and fast, but just a little hotter. And so basically it's going to be fat side up for the 2 hours when I do that initial just smoking, and that low temp really helps to better impart smoke at the start. So that's why I always start low and then bump it up some. So then when I bump it up to 250, I'm going to flip the fat side down, and I'm going to spritz it every hour after I flip it. I'm going to spritz it every hour with some beef broth, and I'm not going to do any Texas cheat. I'm going to just let it run. I'm going to just let the smoker, put in work on it. And so we're going to see how this turns out, and I'll bring you on back when it's time to put the brisket on the grill. Alright, so here's our brisket after it's been setting out. I'm going to put it on. I've got the larger end with the point over on this side because my cooker tends to cook a little hotter on this side. So I got the flat over on this side where it's a little cooler during the cook, so maybe I won't burn up my flat while I'm getting my point done because I don't want to separate. I just like to keep it together for this cook. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on now. I'm going to flip it over. Got fat sides up, so it's in there good. I'm going to close things on up once I can get these gloves off my hands. But basically what I'm doing with this, I'm cooking it a little faster than some other ones that you've seen me do. And if you want to see ones where I've cooked like 18 hours for a brisket, or I've cooked it just 225. I've done briskets a lot of different ways in this smoker, on the gas grill. There's lots of other videos on the channel that you want to catch up with if you have not seen those. But this one, we're coming at it a little differently. We're going to see how it turns out. So basically going to let this slow smoke for a couple hours, and then going to flip it over and the temperature bump up to 250. And really quick, I'm just going to show you the profile that I've set up for this cook. So I go into my select profiles, and I've got one. I just named it Easy Brisket because we're just going to do this one nice and easy. And this isn't going to be one we're going to stay up all night for. We're just going to do it nice and easy, try and get a nice smoke, call it done, you know what I mean? So as you can see, the profile starts at 182 hours, then bumps up to 250. When I flip it, put the meat probe in, and we'll try and take it up to maybe 197, then I'll start. Birds. Alright, take it up to about 197, and then maybe start poke testing it, make sure that it's nice and tender. And so I'm going to go ahead and just hit start profile now to start that profile. And that profile is now in play and running. So I'll bring you on back later. Alright, we're reaching that 2-hour point. I'm going to flip it and get the meat probe in there. And then after I do all that, I'll do some spritzing. It's supposed to get up to about 86 degrees today and be partly sunny. It's about 70 degrees right now. There we have it after 2 hours on one side. Flip it. I'll just leave it deep in like that. Now I'm going to go get some beef broth and do some spritzing. Alright, just going to spritz it a little with some of this beef broth. Ooh, kind of too much of a stream. Still too much of a stream. Gotta make sure I got it on my spritz setting. There we go. That's what we want. Nice misty spritz. Alright, we'll spritz it up like that every hour. I'll bring you back later on in this cook. Alright, so things have been cooking for 4 hours in the, 4 hours total. 2 hours at 250, 2 hours so far at that 180 before. So the meat temp's already up to 160. So I'm going to basically just check the temp with my ThermoWorks, see how it compares. This is how it looks after 4 hours of smoking in here. Now I'm getting 155 over on this end. So the probe over here is probably about right. I think I'm getting 174 down on this part. It's like this part does cook a little hotter. And so I've got my point over on that end because of that, like I mentioned earlier. So things are cooking pretty rapidly for a 14-pound brisket, just increasing that temp a little more than usual. We're already up to 160. I'm just going to do my hourly spritz that I've been doing every hour, just to keep it nice and moist. But we're rolling along here. I'll bring you on back a little later. Alright, so it took things 7 hours total to reach the target temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and open up now. I'm going to just kind of poke around and test around and see how things are doing and looking. Alright, it looks beautiful in here. Really just poke in there. It's in like the 180s, even the 175 range right there, but it's not too hard poking in. It's pretty easy to poke in some. It's in the 170s there though. Let's see. Over here in this flat, it's just reading the 170s. Let's go a little deeper in. Back here it's real hot. I think I'm going to spin it. I'm going to spin it. I'm not going to pull it yet. Got a little stuck on my grate there a little bit. I'm going to just turn it just slightly like that. I'm just going to move this meat curve down into my flat. And it's a little tough right there in the flat. I'm just going to leave it right there in the flat, making sure I didn't poke through with my probe. I'm going to crank it back up to 250, let it continue for a while longer, and I'll bring you back when it reaches about 197 in the point. I mean in the flat, not the point. When it reaches 197 in the flat. Alright, since I'm dealing with the flat and not the point, I'm stopping exactly at 195. I'm not going to take it up to like 197 like I did with the point. I'm going to, stop this flat right at 195. So if all pokes out well, seems nice and tender, going to wrap it in foil. Got 2 cups of beef broth with a tablespoon of the beef rub inside. I'm just going to put that inside of this foil tube, put it in a cooler for about an hour, and then we'll get it out. So let's have a look. That looks great. That looks great. So let's just test here. We're up in the 200s right there. That's real tender right here. Yeah, it's real tender. It's going in and out real nice. And back here, it's going even smoother back here in the back area. But it's going nice back up front here too. So I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and take it on in. Alright, so here's our brisket. It's been sitting in the cooler an hour. Now I'm just going to get this foil off of it, but have a look at it. Looks very good for a nice 15 pound, 14.74 pounds, 15 pounds. So it took 8 hours cooking time, and after that in the cooler for an hour, so basically 9 hours, total if you want to count the time in the cooler. But an 8 hour cook, nice 8 hour brisket. Nothing to keep you up late at night. You just get up in the morning, start cooking it, and here you are. 8 hours later, or 9 hours later, since you give a little time in the cooler, and you got a nice brisket. Alright, let's slice in, see how this smoked beef brisket is looking. Straight off that Daniel Boone. Alright, here we have our finished product. I want to give you a closer view here so you can see some of that smoke ring goodness there. Let's get you in real close, real tight shot. You can see that nice smoke ring there. So that turned out real nice. And you can see this, it's full of juice. It's full of juice. So I'm just going to get a slice off of here. Just going to plate it. Just going to cut a slice or two for just a taste test. That's some good stuff. Let's see how it's hanging. Well, this is a thick slice, but you can see how it's hanging. It's a thicker slice though. So, hanging pretty decent. Let's get the camera adjusted and do some taste testing. Alright, let's taste test this nicely smoked beef brisket. Nicely trimmed too, so not a lot of fat to deal with. I'm going to try one more. This took a while. Alright, so the smoking's nice. It is, you know, if you do a 225 beef brisket that you know, like I go 13 hours with, you know, you're going to get a bit more, well, a bit more tender product. This one is good. You know, it tastes good. It is smoked good. It's, you know, tender, but it's not a, like, 18-hour 225, or, you know, like sometimes I'll smoke it for less than 180 for some hours, several hours, like 4 hours or so, and then go up to like just 225 and be out there till like 3 in the morning and all that, you know, good stuff, dealing with the brisket. You know, that one's going to be a bit more tender, but this one is decent. You know, this is decent, a decent, respectable brisket in just 8 hours. You know, if you don't want to do all that long, you know, 13, 14, 16 hour stuff, and you don't have that type of time, you can get a nice smoked brisket off your pellet smoker just 8 hours. Do it like this, you get one in just 8 hours. Turned out well. So it's a good way to get a nice, easy brisket. Not a whole lot of toil. Got it nice and trimmed down, so not a whole lot of fat. You know, so not all the hassle that would come with other briskets, but still a good product in the end anyway. So definitely looking forward to your comments. You can find this and other recipes in written form at dgrillsmoke.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at dgrillsmoke. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share the video with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and good eating.